Peace, peace, my peaceful people. What's good? It's your brother, man. Say I know. Yeah. Hey, back out one of my favorite places on the planet. I had to come out here. I had a date with the spirits. You know what I mean? I had to come out here and hang out. But they told me to talk to y'all. I marvel at the fact that I don't know what it was. It wasn't necessarily anything that my father did, my mother did, or any influences that I had coming up. But somehow, it seems like the Sheps have had their hands on me ever since a little boy. You know what I mean? And I'm the only one I know in my family who has ever had any concern about my people, right? Somehow it just dawned on me, to be concerned about my people, to be able to look at some of the things that we do and, how we're doing wrong, how things plague us, the pitfalls and things like that. Somehow this just comes to my awareness. Like I said, I wasn't influenced by my dad. My dad doesn't even acknowledge my videos. So, nor anybody else in my family. So, I can't blame them, you know what I mean? And, I don't know. So, I just say thank you, to the creator, to my Shep Su. Just thank you for all of that, But out here, what's occurring to me right now as I just think about my people, right? You look out. Our people are plagued by narcissism at this point. When you look at what a narcissist is, right? A narcissist is someone who basically went through something, right? A narcissist is a test failure, right? This is someone who failed the test, right? Because life comes to you with circumstances and situations to test you, to see how you will do now that you've been done, right? So these are people who God put through some sort of ordeal, some sort of test. And the purpose was to give them experience, the purpose was, because that's everything in life, is an experience and healing. Healing and experience, that's what life is. And a narcissist is someone who went through the experience but did not heal from it. Right? And so therefore became like their abuser or whatever, the ordeal made them, right? They were shaped into a negativity by their ordeal. They were supposed to go through that ordeal and maintain their own center, right? Even if it was traumatic, maybe you go through a season where you hurt, but you still got to heal and you still have the capacity to heal. Don't tell me nobody can't heal from something bad that happened to them. I'm a testament, you know what I mean? One day I'm going to talk about it for real. Y'all going to see stuff I went through. But, I'm a testament that, hey, look, you can deal with stuff in life. You're supposed to. You know what I mean? You're supposed to go through your challenges in your test, your classroom, see? But that's the whole point. You have to understand it as that. Understand it as a classroom. Don't be a hurt people that hurt people, right? Don't be a hurt person. Walk around as a hurt person. Don't do that. That's not why it happened to you, So you people who are narcissists, y'all unhealed, but I'm going to unheal you a little bit more. Y'all weak. I'm saying just like that. Narcissist is weak, right? A narcissism is a weak response to life's trauma, right? You know what I mean? Not to belittle anybody's experience, you know what I mean? Not to, a trigger warning and whatnot like that. But it's the truth, you know what I mean? The whole point of karma and, experiences that we have out here is just to teach us something about life. You know what I mean? So if you go through something, sometimes it's not just, that's something negative that person did in his life. No. Sometimes it's just training. Sometimes God puts you through it because God knows what you're supposed to be. And God has to make you, kind of shape you into what you're supposed to be. I thank God, I thank my Chef Sue, and I thank those unscrupulous individuals who betrayed me at various points in my adulthood. You know what I mean? Because they shaped me, and I'm thorough. If I may say so myself, I'm pretty good, pretty cool dude. You know what I'm saying? Now, why do I say that? I say that because I'm passion and compassion. You know what I'm saying? I got, I'm fire and the water. You know, I didn't let the trauma hurt me. I didn't let the trauma, seal my fate to be someone who now goes and traumatizes people. I didn't do that. I just looked at it for what it was. Lots of times that stuff was like them. You know what I mean? I look at my trauma I look at the various things that came to me and wasn't so pleasant as, just lessons. You know what I mean? The people behind them, they were, people who were unhealed. You know what I'm saying? I forgive you in such a way where it's like, I forgive you. You know what I'm saying? I forgive you. You know what I mean? But, I'm not so naive, to the point where I'm going to let y'all back in. I'm going to, I'm not naive to the point where, I have to now deal with y'all. Nah, I'll let y'all go because that's what y'all wanted. That's what y'all taught me. Y'all taught me that I needed to let people go. Detachment. You know what I mean? Y'all help me out with that. My IO is amen. So yeah, y'all are a part of my IO. And I thank you. And we'll just keep it moving from there. But that's what life was supposed to show me. Detachment. I was supposed to detach from folks. I was supposed to not be such a Ma'atian spirit that I just have to embrace everything, even things that did me wrong. No. You know what I mean? Tehuti is the other side of that token. That is I. You know what I'm saying? So I can cut you. Give me a sword and tell me what you did. I will cut you. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, again, back to our people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm proud of myself. I say I'm thorough because I'm proud of myself. That I didn't descend into, narcissism. You know what I'm saying? That I didn't descend into being goofy, showing out. See, narcissists, they phony because they show out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they put, whatever their trauma is on their back and they use it as a defense, right? They're now defensive towards life. That's not what your trauma is supposed to make you do. Your traumas are supposed to make you observant, not defensive. Can't walk around this world just guarded. You know what I'm saying? There's too many things that want to see you. You know what I mean? You're messing up your receptivity. Still have to be that. Over and above and through and beyond the narcissism or the trauma that happened. Right? We ain't supposed to be unhealed people. It's strong, it's power to be able to heal yourself after trauma. You know what I'm saying? That's power. Not this false thing of, you identifying with the people who did you wrong in some warped psychological way. You'll never admit it, but something about you has latched on to their ways as they abused you, and so now you abuse others. That's weak. That's weak. It's not what it's supposed to be. It's not what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? You're supposed to endure your traumas. You know what I mean? Go through them. Let them shape you. It's like fire. You ever put some metal in the fire and let the fire just sit? Let the metal sit in the fire. Pretty soon it goes white. You know what I'm saying? It gets white, and that white is purity. You know what I'm saying? And you dip it in some water and you wipe off the little ash or whatever, and that thing is pristine now because it went through the fire. That's what you're supposed to let your fire, your traumas do. Your traumas are supposed to shape you. They're supposed to mold you. They're supposed to purify you. not hurt you, not harm you, not make you someone who turns towards the world and says, I'm going to do you dirty too. Or nobody don't care about me, and now you got a callous attitude towards life. That's a fail. That's a fail. And when I look at my people, oh my God, you know, it's like we so competitive. Why? Because we narcissists. We was done dirty. They did us dirt. You know what I'm saying? Our people got it bad. We got it so bad that we can't even agree on what to call ourselves. Some of us want to call ourselves by color. Some of us want to, you know, call ourselves by a country that, or a continent, two continents at the same time. And none of the world sees that as valid. That's why they look at us a certain way. You know, we get looked at a certain way because of things like how we identify and how they know us to be already before the trauma. Everybody knows what happened to us, but they allow us to just stumble over ourselves. You know, we got to heal ourselves. And part of that is facing down your trauma. You know, I went through a time where, you know, hey, you know what I mean? Part of my development was the revolutionary stage, you know what I mean? Where it was all about, you know, F-whitey this and that, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not there no more. I'm not there. I'm at my evolutionary stage now. See, now I understand what all of that was. I don't take it so personal. That stuff is here to grow us. Those challenges that we went through, harsh though they were all here to grow us. You know, to focus us a certain kind of way. You know, we've all been, you know, think about how the Indians was, the quote-unquote Indians, the aboriginals, right? You know, think about how we was. You know what I'm saying? We was welcoming. We saw other humans on the planet, you know, and, you know, they saw us as food. That's what they did, man. They saw us as food because we was sweet. We was sweet. You know? And so now we went through that, right? We went through the rough part, and we still going through it. We got people like Trump in the office. Don't let me get on that. You know, it's still rough for us. You know what I mean? It's still rough for us, and so we still are healing while going through the stuff. You know what I mean? So what it's about is a mindset. It's about developing a mindset that you will be healed, that you will acknowledge the things that they did and seek to correct them. You know, one of my first things was, hey, man, you know, I can remember, nobody taught me this, you know, but I can remember being in high school saying, what if the people who conquered you and made you to heal and all of this, what does it mean when they give you your religion? Didn't sit right with me. So religion was one of the things that that I had to correct. You know what I mean? You know, let me understand something about indigenous life. You know what I mean? Across the planet. You know what I mean? Let me understand something about how we did things. And let me give them back their story about the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? It just made sense to me that, you know, there would be pitfalls in that. And there are, you know, there's a slave Bible. There's a whole Bible, you know what I mean, or aspects of the Bible that were written for slavery, you know, specifically make you a good slave. You know what I mean? So, you know, other things is what? You know, our languages, you know, pardon, you know, we speak the King's English now. I caught a rash on my lips. Shout out to Yasin. Yeah, man, you know, there are things that they gave us that we have to reject, give back in order to heal ourselves. You know what I mean? They made us think a certain way about ourselves. They make us look at that television. They're trying to show you who you are at various points. You are a thug. You are, you know, nobody. At various times, use a soft punk. You know what I mean? At various times, you know, you are a punching bag, you know. So you got to heal all that. You know, you got to fix all that. You got to look at that for what it was. You know what I mean? Don't take it so personal. See, some of us going to get mad when we look at it. You know what I mean? And, you know, that may be a place for that. But that has to be healed. That has to be evolved, right? Don't walk around mad. It's not about walking around mad. Nah, you now calculate the correction. You know what I mean? How do we fix this now that it's broken? You know what I mean? It's part of the mission. Why did God put you here? Why did God put us here? Look at us. We beautiful. Look at me. I promise I'm not conceited, y'all. But I'm just acknowledging, man, we the most beautiful thing God did to this planet. You know what I'm saying? And we out here in a situation. You know what I mean? So it's not about just dying, just curling over and it's a wrap. Nah, it's not it. It's not it. And as the earth moves and does its growth thing, so do we. It's time for us to do our growth thing. We have to start seeing these things different. You know what I mean? Religion isn't just what you call God. Your spiritual system is something that's supposed to guide you through life. You know what I mean? You're supposed to have answers about why. You know what I mean? From your spiritual system. So we got to heal ourselves, man. They made us into people who now hurt each other. Now it's unsafe in the hood. Now people are immature. We walk in such competitive dispositions, like, you know what I mean? We got to look, hey man, look at the way I'm talking to brothers now. I'm talking to me and my kind, right? We come into each other's presence. There's nothing about camaraderie. We don't look to see where we the same, where we are alike. We don't look at each other at like that from the get. Nah, it's more competitiveness. It's more envy. Oh, he got that. He looked like that. I endured that. You know what I mean? I endure that. Period. Like, you know what I mean? I've gone through that so many times. I just come up in the spot and niggas is gritting. Niggas is hating. Why you hating, bro? You don't even know me. You ain't even heard my voice, but you giving me that, like it's something, like it's a problem. I'm not the only one. I'm talking to, you go through it too. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But you have a responsibility towards correcting that. How do I handle that? I just be. And I deal with each one of them. I look them all in the eye and I say, what's up? What's good? And I check for their response. You know what I mean? Lots of times, that's all that needed to happen. Lots of times, I just needed to put forward that I'm not a threat. I needed to stop that Willie Lynch thing down because they couldn't do it, right? They weren't there yet, right? And that showed them that now they could do it. I'm going to go ahead and stomp this little corny fire out, right? And now you can help me. You can help me because you see the value in it. Even if you don't say it, he sees the value in what I did by greeting him. You know what I mean? That man's not a threat. And, maybe we got something in common. Maybe we could work together on something. Maybe we can build. That's what we got to do. We have to heal ourselves, bro. We got to heal ourselves. He got this and, dag, and I got to get this before they get it, and him and this, and oh my God, stop thinking about other people. Cut that out. How you going to live your life if you live in somebody else's life? Cut that out. Nah, that's not what you're here for. You learn your incarnation objective and start living it. Seek to live your incarnation objective. The rest is just what you doing. Yeah, we got to cure this narcissism in our race. It don't make no sense. We was the most, accommodating, the most myotic people on this planet. We gave to those settlers, They tricked us. They did all kinds of goofy stuff to us, right? And we gave to them. Well, now we got the lesson to not be so giving, right? To not be so open, to be more discerning about what we should be open to. You know what I mean? And I'm talking, that's personal and that's abroad. You know what I mean? I'm talking my personal lesson that I've seen in myself and I see it on the people. You know? We got to correct this thing. You know what I mean? I had to correct my outlook. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. That's what we're here for. We're here to correct. That's what each soul is here for. Each spirit on this planet is here for some level of correction, whether they know it or not. You know what I mean? And you have a responsibility towards it. If you don't know what I'm saying when I say Willie Lynch, go look it up. You're going to find some people that say, oh, that's a hoax. Well, the evidence is there. The evidence is too clear for it to be a hoax. We envy each other. We hate each other for no reason. We seek each other's demise when we compete with each other. When we should be looking to help each other. We should acknowledge the fact that we all in a situation, the same situation, just because of our skin color. You know what I mean? That should be the thing that unites you to your brother, your skin color. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't, I'm not trying to, rile up the troops yet. I'm just saying. We got to heal ourselves, man. Stop being narcs. You know what I mean? The narc, that's the devil's child, God uses people and the devil uses people. See, devil comes and breaks you and then he uses you. You become a narc. You want to hurt people. You want to see these people struggle or this person struggle. You know what I mean? Get you your little laughs and rocks off and things like that. What's that? Like, what's making you to do that? Go in your history and find out what it was that makes you have the urge to want to see people have to struggle or go through something. What was it? What happened to you? Tell that 5th grade bully, hand your sandals back. Don't be a bitch nigga narc. Yo, that's it. That's all I got to say. I really do hope that y'all heed this, though. You know what I mean? Heed what I'm saying, because it's the key to our salvation. If we could reverse this narcissism that we do to each other, this hurt people thing, you know what I mean? If we could do that, then we could think about something like unity. And once we start to do that, all right, the world got a problem. Because we was that people, okay? We was the people. We was the people that gave the world all of the great stuff that it has. You know what I mean? And, now we got tricked up. We can get it back. We're supposed to. It's on us to get us back. You know what I mean? We prove our age by going through this and coming out on top of it right, healed. Come on, y'all. Let's heal ourselves. That's that. Peace and love.